Dear Mr. Sawyer, you don't know who I am, but I know who you are, and I know what you've done. You had sex with my mother. And then you stole my dad's money all away. So he got angry, and he killed my mother.
Mr. Sawyer? Damn, boss. He got your mama too? Let's jump him.
We have to go back!
What's going on, Losties? Once again, it's time to go back. In today's review, I'm condensing both Lost Season 1, Episode 8 and 9, Sawyer and Sayid-centric episodes, covering their flashbacks along with some key moments such as Sawyer's letter, the kiss, the very hard-to-watch torture scene, and at the end, I'll do a brief connection and retrospective on the scene with Danielle and Sayid, as I think it foreshadows the final season and the end of Lost. But of course, if you haven't watched all Lost episodes, I recommend you don't go there. It will be time-stamped down below. But with that being said, you know what time it is.
We have to go back!
That's right, Jack. It's time to go back. Let's get started. Welcome back, Losties, to your Lost Rewatch for Season 1, Episode 8 and 9. I decided to condense these two episodes as I think there were only a couple key moments, but I will say that these two mesh really well together, with Sayid torturing Sawyer for the inhaler, which causes him to question his humanity, leading him to remove himself from the camp and wind up being ensnared by none other than Danielle Russo. Can anybody say surviving Russo, right? So for the first moment, we are covering one of my favorite Lost memorabilia, the letter.
Read it.
Dear Mr. Sawyer, you don't know who I am, but I know who you are, and I know what you've done. You had sex with my mother. And then you stole my dad's money all away. So he got angry, and he killed my mother. And then he killed himself too. All I know is your name. One of these days I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna give you this letter so you'll remember what you've done to me. You killed my parents, Mr. Sawyer.
You don't know who I am, but I know who you are. And I know what you've done. Something like that. That first line hits hard. But if you remember, shortly after the plane crash, we see Sawyer reading this note. And in this episode, we delve into what is actually, being said. At first watch, and just like Kate after reading this, I thought too that Sawyer was the recipient of this letter. However, we found out that it was he who wrote this letter. And from here, we know there is more than meets the eye with Sawyer, who is indeed a complex, or should I say complex man. More on this later. Let's move into Sawyer's flashback. The con. In Sawyer's flashback, he takes the role of a confidence man, the very man and scheme that caused the demise of his mother. He sleeps with women. At some point in the ruse, he leaves in a rush, dragging his suitcase that just happens to have a crap load of cash inside, right? He makes the woman think she's part of the scheme, only to leave them high and dry. Except in this particular episode, the woman has a son, which I guess he reminds of him, and he decides to abort the scam. Let's move back to the present on the island, where Shannon is suffering from asthma and without her inhaler, might I add. And Boone suspects Sawyer to have this. He confronts him only to get his ass kicked, which I thoroughly enjoy. We should have saw that on camera, which then causes Jack and Sayid to have a little bit of vigilante justice in a move that not only questions how far Jack is willing to go as a de facto leader at this point, but also showing how dark Sayid can get, which leads me to another one of my favorite moments of the episode. All right, so we got to talk about this hard to watch scene right here. I would not want to be tortured by Sayid, but before we get to this, John Locke, who had a pretty good episode, last episode, with that whole moth talk and everything like that, for some reason, I don't know. I just didn't like how John Locke did Sawyer like that. He basically put the smoke trail on him as suspect number one when he was questioned by Jack and Sayid. Jack questioning him about the inhaler, and Sayid questioning him about, who knocked him out in the jungle. And I don't know why, but I just felt like he was real malicious for some reason. Did he piss in your drink or something? What happened, John? But anyway, John is like pointing the finger. He did it. Go look at him. He specifically said that the person that knocked out Sayid had no reason to want to get off the island, right? So I know Sawyer is not the most honest guy and kind of an asshole, but uh I don't exactly see him not wanting to get off the island. John more so looks suspect to me because he's having a blast hunting boar and he's magically free of his wheelchair. Why would he want to leave the island? He would be suspect number one to me. But I digress. So anyway, back to the scene. Jack and Sayid captures Sawyer, and Sayid has these, I guess, shivs or little stick bamboo, whatever you want to call them, in a very pointy shape, and he sticks them under his fingernail. I would not want to be captured by Sayid. Found this hard to watch. But Sawyer took it like a champ. Jack also gave him an uppercut and a 1, 2-piece, 3-piece biscuit, right? Earlier in the episode. So he took that on the chin too. So Sawyer is just taking this major punishment for no reason at all. We find out later in the episode. But before we get into why I think that is, we got to talk about that kiss. So after being battered and tortured, Sawyer agrees to expose the whereabouts of the inhaler, only to Kate though. Kate kisses him only to find out he doesn't have it. Now, that's what I call a con. Maybe he did all that just to get that kiss, but for real though, why would he go through all that? Why become a man that you hate? And why does he want people to despise him? Uh, the way I saw it anyway, because at some part in the episode, she figures out that he wrote the note, right? And he's like, "Don't feel sorry for me, Freckles." But anyway, maybe in some weird way, he couldn't catch the man that ruined his life. So in order to punish him, he became that man vicariously, and he puts this mask on, so to say, and that's who he portrays himself to be. It wasn't James being tortured; it was Sawyer being tortured and smacked around. Um, but at least that's the way I guess I kind of look at it. I don't know, it's in some weird way. He was punishing the man he wanted to punish. So um anyway, you guys let me know down in the comments here. So to finish this episode, Sayid feels regret about what he done to Sawyer, which he decided to banish himself from the group, and then go out to the jungle to ultimately meet up with Danielle Russo, which we're about to transition into the next episode. But before I do that, let's talk about some other moments, just some other quick hits. Let's see here. We got to talk about the peanut butter scene with Charlie and Claire. Watching it for the millionth time, I still think it's the cringiest move ever. When he put his finger in his mouth, I'm like, this is a pregnant lady. Why are you promising her peanut butter and then bringing her an empty jar? I know it's, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it was sweet or whatever, but Claire looked at him and like, what is this fool doing with this damn jar? But anyway, this starts a romance between the two, which will go further down the line, but that's not for this episode. But there was also, I can't remember his name. There was the guy that was pestering Jack about his rash, and Jack was like, "Oh my God, get out of my face." And then later on, he was looking for Jack, and Hurley had found that golf or made a golf course or whatever, and he's like, "You guys playing golf? Can I play?" So another lighthearted moment that I liked on the episode, and they got a little reprieve, by being able to go on their homemade golf course or whatnot. We do have a little tension between the developing bromance between Michael and Jen when he spotted Michael and Son together. Jen, you gotta let the woman breathe there. But anyway, Son, she's kind of the MVP of this episode because she got the eucalyptus, right? That's the name of the plant that helped relieve Shannon's symptoms and all that. And I didn't forget about you, Sayid. I saw the way you was admiring her, but that's for another episode. But we're gonna move on to episode 8 here. So let me just change things up a bit, and we will talk about that and get ready to wrap this up. All right, guys, let's wrap up with a brief look at episode 9, where we see Sayid captured by Danielle Russo. He gets a taste of his own medicine as we see the torturer get tortured. And this won't be the only time. Wink, wink. He ultimately ends up finding some common ground, confessing about his time with Nadia, who we see him release her from captivity when he was supposed to eliminate her during his time as an Iraqi soldier and torturer. But that's pretty much wraps up the flashback. I'm not going to go too much just to kind of make this quick. On top of that, he fixes a broken music box for Danielle. Shout out From. Check out the latest From Lost for that connection. Lastly, Danielle checks a disturbance outside. Sayid escapes, follows her. They have a conversation, which I'm about to play here. But this section will contain some season 6 spoilers. So let's wrap it up. After this conversation, Sayid and Danielle go their separate ways, only for Sayid to come across what she describes earlier on as the whispers. So that is episode 9. So now, ready to get into some connections and retrospective here. If you made it this far, you are a vet and you have seen all episodes. Let's dive into today's connections and retrospective.
Took them one after the other. I had no choice. They were already lost.
You killed them.
What would have happened if we were rescued? I couldn't let that happen. I won't.
I'm not sick. You'll find me in the next life, if not in this one.
What?
The only way of this place is with their help.
See you in another life, brother. Now, in this scene, there was some very specific dialogue that we heard. The part about them being lost or something like that, that stood out. Then we had the part where Danielle said she had to kill her boyfriend, husband, I can't remember, and the rest of her crew because they were sick. Well, I think no, the guy got dragged, so he was already dead. And I think she just had to kill her boyfriend, if I'm not mistaken. And she basically said what would have happened if they were rescued, because we know these individuals were claimed by MIB. At least that's what I think. Her boyfriend got claimed, who himself wanted to get off the island as well, to presumably spread his darkness, according to the metaphor Jacob used with the wine bottle while talking to Richard. More than likely, if she didn't take her boyfriend out, he would have got her anyway, because he looked like he had bad intentions. And then what would have happened if he would have got off the island? No idea where that would have led, but I don't think that would have been too good, right? We get Sayid saying, I need the help of my people to get off of this place, and that I'll see you in another life, to paraphrase. And then we know Desmond, of course, makes this even more famous. We'll see you in another life, brother. Then we get the flash sideways, right? That were pretty much the other life, I guess you could say, what if scenarios if they never visited the island. Then we see them find each other, go into the light, which can be seen as them getting out of this place. One way to look at it. Did the writers think that far ahead? Maybe not every step of the way, but these lines are not just coincidence to me. I do think they had an end in mind, although how we get there is a whole nother story. But let's just say they took the scenic route, right? But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for this edition of Project Lost. If you haven't yet, be sure to check out the previous episodes and my review of Getting Lost Doc here on the screen. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in another life, brother. See you next time.
We have to go back!